Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you so much for coming back to Sarita Talks. I've got a repeat, not a repeat offender, but that's okay. We've got a
Repeat
repeat
participator.
guest. Yes, yes, we've got a repeat guest who has shared experience, who has been in the struggle, who spent too much time in prison under the crack cocaine disparity. Mataka Ascari has come on because the knowledge that he has been able to impart to this audience is invaluable. And as many times as he is ready, willing, and able, I definitely want him to come on and talk about just the struggle that people are able to overcome, and all sorts of, excuse me, and he really can break down trauma like nobody else. So we're going to talk about a different kind of trauma today. We're going to talk about how we have been justice impacted and economically denied for the same things that other people are so willingly paid. They will call me and ask me, Sarita, would you come speak to incarceration, trauma, violence, domestic abuse, your nonprofit? And I'm not offered a dime. However, somebody who went to school for these same issues that I've lived through, experienced, came out on the other side and have the same knowledge that this academic is able to purport to this audience, but you're going to offer them $10,000 because, that's just the way it goes. Mataka, it's your turn. Get in there. Get in there. And the first time I met Mataka was a speaking engagement. It was a discussion panel about being incarcerated. And when I was asked, I was like, sure, I'll do it. And then they gave us some money. I was like, hey, that's cool too. I didn't even know you could get paid until somebody said, hey, we got a check for you. So Mataka, go ahead, take it from here.
Well, I was listening to what you were saying just now, and that was important. And I feel like in a lot of ways, the knowledge that you have as a result of lived experience gives you an advantage over just somebody who has an academic understanding. Number one,
Absolutely.
You worked through it. Hey, before all this trauma and all these clinical terminologies became popular, and that's the common vernacular, we were still struggling to find our ways through things, right? They put labels on it, and now it has popular terminology. However, the one thing that you do possess is a solution. Right. Listen, you demonstrate the effectiveness of it in your own life every day. You are the evidence-based example. You the evidence-based example. But people want you to share everything that you have, right? And this is what they'll do. They'll characterize it as a great opportunity for redemption, a way to pay back for the things you've done. But in actuality, I feel like it's an exploitative mechanism that's designed to take everything that we've learned from our own personal struggles, give it to other people. They're able to construct it into programs, pull solutions out of it, and then develop it into a financial based thing for them to benefit from, all off the backs of everything that we done. And that's my thing.
Can you speak to a lot of the programs within at least the Missouri Department of Corrections and in New York, Philadelphia, because we speak to people who are justice impacted, but we're doing it. We're out here. We are the reentry specialists. We are the people who are purporting workforce development. We're the ones who can opine on the experience itself and what it actually does to a person. So recently, and this
go ahead. We the ones make the connection though, Sarita, because of this. Man, your lived experience and people knowing that allows you access to an area with certain people that people who do not have that cannot get in. Man, can't know anybody just pull up on people who struggling and caught up in the grips of trauma and be able to talk to them and develop a relationship and hopefully open them up to something that could benefit them. Everybody don't have that capacity. That's a skill set that you've developed as a result of a lifestyle you've lived that's developed. And so that in and of itself is invaluable, because can't nobody or know anybody just pull up on a group of people who justice involved, who's struggling with trauma, who's struggling with substance use disorder or co-occurring disorders. Can't know anybody just pull up. Like, you gotta have some
the people want to talk about trust. And, now we have a lot of peer support specialists, because the person who has been on the ground, boots on the ground, who has actually lived it, I would be more apt to listen to and want to change because, hey, this person was able to, than I would be to go to a counselor who I'm telling, hey, I've been beat down, I've been raped, I've been, I had to fight for my life, I went to jail, was traumatized there. and you have no perception, no type of, it can never in your mind be a reality for you. How can you help me in any way? As a matter of
Sarita,
fact, I
if,
should be
if,
helping you.
if I was a teacher in the traditional sense, and I taught a financial class on how to make $1 million, and I don't have
Mhm.
$1 million.
It doesn't make sense.
I
Thank
don't have
you.
$1 million myself, but I'm telling you how you can make $1 million. That's what it is. That's
Yeah.
exactly
So
that's a
so I'm
perfect
going to tell you
example.
how to be a survivor. I'm going to tell you what your experience was like. I'm going to tell you the tools that you need to do what I think that you would be my version of success for you. And
Yeah.
the version, and this is what really kills me. We are pigeonholed that the version of success that you have in your mind as someone who doesn't, has a perception of an inmate is, oh, there's factory jobs. Oh, there's, cleaning jobs. There's
And
fast
not,
food.
not like it's nothing wrong with that. However, that's
No,
just
not
what
at
they
all.
relegated and assigned us to. And they don't even respect our academic accomplishments. Let me just say
No.
for me, when
Yes.
I do this, man, I already know, Sarita, like when we did our panel, every time they know we speaking, people gonna pack the house out because they know
That's
we
right.
bringing an element of it that other people not bringing. And this be my thing. I love to sit on panels with so-called academics. I love it
Oh yeah.
because I
Oh yeah.
love it. I love it because the
Yeah.
deficiencies become clear in a lot of ways, right? Where
Hmm.
you can see that this is just a bunch of book learning. Because as an individual who has gone through a massive amount of trauma and understanding my growth academically and spiritually, you cannot convince me that you stood on the edge of the pool, watched somebody else swim, quantified the mechanics, wrote it down in a book, and packaged it to the world like you an expert and you ain't never put your foot in the pool. I ain't
Oh,
no,
that is so deep. You're
no,
over here
you're not
acting
an
like you're
expert.
Michael Phelps. You are not Michael Phelps. Okay.
No doubt.
You
No,
cannot go get those Olympic medals just because you say that you know something
yeah,
about
because you
it.
know the mechanics, you got the quantum, you
Well,
got the mechanics, and you got that from watching somebody else.
well, let me tell you how this conversation began, and I'm actually going to look it up while we're on here. This morning, I was just going through, platforms, LinkedIn, and I saw this meme. And I instantly thought of Mataka and another gentleman who we were just on a panel together. And would you like to expound on? They had two people that had written books. The whole event was based on anti-poverty. So we were speaking as to how to ensure that justice impacted individuals were not impoverished, even though we're set up to be impoverished. There
No
were two
doubt.
keynote speakers, neither of which we're not going to
Impressed
talk about that,
me.
but
Impressed me. I say it. I ain't
yes.
impressed. I ain't impressed. Regurgitated rhetoric that they done got up out of some book. You can't
And
tell me what
actually, one of the books was written on someone else's story of being impoverished by a Caucasian woman. Hey, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, here's the thing. It's an anti-poverty summit. So the money that you choose to invest in your speakers goes to the people with money, and our contributions once more have been minimalized. So here was the
but
quote.
you know what I
Don't
always hear before you say that, but you know what I always hear? Man, y'all did the best. Y'all panel
That's
was the
right.
best. Y'all did it.
Yeah.
Y'all did. You always get this
Toot,
congratulatory
toot.
pats on the back. Yeah. But
Mhm.
but that's man, we had to struggle to get our paper. Go ahead.
Yes, yes. And talk about the pat on the back. Let's just make that reminiscent of slavery. Like, oh, you did
Come
so
on.
good, but we're not
Come
going to pay
on.
you. We're going to pay, an overseer to come from another, place or whatever, who's
Yeah.
more like-minded, has the same ideas, and they will make sure they get some money. So let me tell you, here's the meme. Don't pay the keynote speaker with a purely academic background. Thousands, and then ask directly impacted people to share their trauma stories for free. That was the basis of
Man,
the
that lit me up
whole
this
show
morning. I
today.
was chilling. I was chilling until you sent me that. I'm like, man, that got me hyped because it's the
Yeah,
reality of the situation,
yeah,
right? And I'm not
yeah.
I'm
And
not
it's
I'm
2025. We're
and I'm
breaking
not
those chains.
belittling. I'm not degrading. I'm not denying anybody else's trauma. But listen, man, just because you got pushed at school one time and you consider that a trauma and not able to overcome that, and then when you get this degree and they ask you what type of trauma you had, you say you got pushed at school when you were 6. Really?
And it was devastating. It changed
Yeah,
your whole
no, that's
mindset.
what makes you an expert. That's your
And then
trauma
at 6
experience.
years old, you decided you were gonna study criminal justice because that push was just so hard in your life. And now you were an expert on criminal justice because clearly they should have came and locked up that other little boy in the first grade that
that's a
pushed
whole
you.
nother show. That's that school to prison pipeline stuff. We can get into that one day because it's a
Yeah, we
reality.
will.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
we will. Yes. Well, let me tell you this. And when I met Mataka had you've been in this other side of the gate for what, 6 years?
Almost 6.5. Yes, ma'am. Next month.
And when I started my show, first person I thought of, I started my show with a gentleman that helped kind of interview me and get people ingratiated in what I was doing. And Mataka said, wow, we're going to get together and do something. People never want to, reconnect or whatever. It's because there's no profitability, it seems, in keeping these alliances and remembering where you came from. So I was like, Mataka, I met you one time, you rocked it. I want to get to know you more, and I want the audience to hear. It wasn't recorded, but I wanted the audience to know that this is power right here. This is power. And at the same time, people are just disregarded. So let's make that transcend. It doesn't matter what career you're in. Are you being held back because of a past decision? Because that's basically what's happening to us.
It's counterproductive and contradictory. They'll tell you to study self-empowerment, learn your true value, which is connected to your identity so you can know your worth. And then when you talk about your worth, people don't want to talk about that. As long as you're doing what they need to do for free, you good. The minute you ask them for a Texas Roadhouse gift card, it's a problem.
Yes,
right? My gas to get to your venue. Man, I got so many emails, Sarita, right now in my computer from people asking me to come do presentations. Not nobody offered a Starbucks gift card.
Oh, right? My God.
I'm not doing none of it. I'm not doing none of it. I'll spend that time with my daughter. I'm not doing it.
Absolutely. And so and here's another thing. So taking time away from your family. I'm a caregiver for my mother. Taking time just to go and basically rip off scabs. Tell you how bad it is, and then at the end, feeling like you're used because you tried to help someone else. So the people. Yeah, you're trying to help someone else. You want to make sure that I know you feel the same, to be the voice of the voiceless. However, how can someone give a voice to people they've never met and be paid top dollar? And me, with my lived experience, it's, well, we would, you're helping others. You're paying your debt. And I will say this, you did the time or you didn't. I spent 14.5 years in prison. So either I did that time or I didn't. So either my case is over and that I've served my time and now I'm doing good things. I owe no one redemption. I owe no one my story to, that makes her a better person. It makes me a better child of the Lord to go out here and tell it. But you know what? God didn't say the love of money. He said money is a protection. So at the same time, these people that you're paying top dollar, they're using that money to grow their generational wealth, to grow their empires, because it's always been, let's just pimp out the little man. And it's not happening.
It's a system of exploitation. I'm telling you.
Yes.
When you break it all the way down.
Tell us more about exploitation.
When you break it down and you examine the psyche of the people who operate out mentality, it's like a slave mentality. I need you to get up here and entertain me. I need you, because they don't look at us like we're like our information. The speech is fiery, the passion is good, the energy's flowing, it's stimulating, people feeling it at the same time. But for real, they look at it like it's a form of entertainment, right? And so to them, it don't have the same value as somebody with a master's degree and 16 trauma certifications, but don't have trauma like that, right? And so my thing is, they look at us like a form of entertainment and excitement. I feel like sometimes, man, it's like church. Man, this is not no church and we not preachers. Our delivery style may be in a particular rhythm or cadence, but the value of what it is we bring to the table, man,
It's the
listen,
same, if not more.
nobody Nobody wants to go through that 14 and a half years in prison, Sarita, to get what you got. They don't know what that's like. People have a
Absolutely.
concept, man, they have zero idea of what it's like to be dehumanized and degraded at the highest level, legally and sometimes illegally in the
Oh,
United States
yes.
of America.
Oh,
Man, listen,
yes.
witnessing abuse, witnessing violence, people preying on each other, having to navigate and survive an environment because you need to get home. That's the goal, to get out. And the
Yeah.
obstacles you face, man, the skills you develop, man, please. I don't care
Well,
what.
and
I don't know. Come on now. I don't know none
talk
of them
about being
academics.
stripped of pride. But you know what? A strip search is, if somebody tells you that you're being strip searched, that's what you're doing. You're taking off every stitch of clothes you have and being demoralized. So here's what I'm saying. They don't know. There's just no way.
No.
But I want to talk to this because we're talking about exploitation. And, my feelings were so hurt because I had come to this town, kind of started this program that someone had came up with an idea, and and just being a believer, I just know that the way my life fast tracked, there was a hand on me, and people saw that. They saw that, and they were like, oh my gosh, that was so good of that woman to have that idea. Oh, that woman, that house, they acted like that individual had built me. And I liken it to this. If a diamond is on the ground and you find it, it was a diamond before you found it. And if you lose it, it's still a diamond. So have you ever felt like a lot of the and it's very painful to me because I felt like I was being exploited and that all the good things that God had put in my life were being attributed to this woman who had given me basically a place to stay for 8 months of my life. That is not who I am. And we're in a small, big town, but my name should not always be attached to that individual because
People gaining notoriety off of your suffering.
Yes, thank you.
People are gaining notoriety off of your work. That's how the system is set up. You the little man. Man, listen, this is the history. Ask Granville T. Woods. Thomas Edison stole all that man's stuff. He took that
my God.
start studying. Listen, this is the psyche. And when you can understand the psychology behind it and you hone in on the characteristics that it produces, you can see it in every area of people activity. Exploitation. The little man get the hard work. The big man at the top don't do nothing, or the big woman, and they get all the money. That's how it's set up. The whole system is set up like that. And it's been established like that. And when you recognize the characteristics of it in its exploitative capacity, then you're able to identify it everywhere. Man, somebody broke something down. This blew my mind. I was looking at this thing on TikTok, and this dude said, if you work for $15 an hour, he say a bag of Lay's chips costs $5. It take $2 to make two potatoes to make a bag of Lay's chips and a little bit of cooking oil and some fire. So if you make $15 an hour, you literally working for 6 potatoes. Man, how he broke that down? Man, the whole this is what it does. And people out here fighting and beefing over political affiliations, and like we done lost our minds. In the midst of forgetting our goal, we've lost our way. And so with that being the case, the system sees us in our vulnerability and exploits us to the fullest capacity. We should not be poor. We should not be poor when we extract $1 trillion+ out of the American economy, which is bigger than the gross national product of some entire countries. Where's our money going? What are we doing? Why are people struggling? Why these kids ain't got no coats and shoes in the winter?
Because of the disparity. Because everybody knows, keep the rich rich, keep the poor poor. But just to talk about exploiting people, that's what the whole show is about, and you know it. Because this just happened, 3 weeks ago, that we received a $100 honorarium. Another person that had to travel hours rode with someone else and stayed because it was a 2 hour or 2 day event, and they just paid for this man's what was it, his hotel room. And we received $100. But it was more important to get the message out to the people that were there because it was all change agents. So
Man,
at the
that's where
same
the
time,
conflict come in, because you dedicated to your message. So you don't want an opportunity. You don't want to miss an opportunity to bring awareness, but you don't want to be taken advantage of at the same time. Thus, there's the conflict.
Yes. Oh, it's an interesting dichotomy because here, let's just make it better. We know you're taking advantage of us. We know you're taking advantage of us. No one is slow. No one is slow. Okay. That's like, I have the podcast series. Everybody wants to be on the show. I ask for sponsorships. Not a one. Not a one. And we've had all sorts of people come on here. So, and guess what? I know that you see it and that you want to be a part of it, but don't think that you're using me. Because I already know the play. Yep. And like Mataka was saying, people are being used all the time. They just don't know the play. They just don't know that there's something better and that you're being held down because you don't look like who they want to give it to. You don't sound like
they scared we're going to take that spot. They scared we're going to take that spot.
That could be it too.
They fear, they fear we're going to take
the spot. Then you're the next $10,000 speaker. Yeah, and all it cost was 23 years of your life, or was it 20?
I tell people 23. I tell people that all the time. Nobody should eat off this 23 and a half years in prison more than me. Not a single individual. Not the company that I work for. Not nobody that I work for individually. Nobody should benefit off of this 23 and a half years, because don't nobody know what it's like being in that hole for 6 months or a year, not able to get out, taking a shower every 3 days, struggling, developing PTSD and anxiety because I'm trapped and can't get out, right?
Oh, yeah.
The mental health issues that I developed as a result of solitary confinement. Man, they don't want that.
In the screaming, people just don't realize that people are having conversations back and forth. They're yelling out the door. I remember Bobby was talking about somebody with mental illness that is just going to stay up and flood things and that's a thing, because first of all, people with mental illnesses are some of the worst treated inmates because they're not capable of making good decisions. So let's lock them up, and that way we don't have to put up with that.
Now one of them COs who is responsible for safety and security has zero understanding. None of them have any understanding of what mental health. They think a person acting out. So if I got a fever and you got a fever, Sarita, our temperatures are the same. Yours comes from a cold, mine's come from a flu. The symptoms look the same, but the root cause is different. So because these people are not trained, they don't know somebody who's just genuinely tripping versus a person who is having a mental health flare up, and this is how they're doing it. Everybody is treated criminally. They don't have the ability to discern. They are ill-equipped. They don't know what they're doing.
Oh, yes. Oh, or we don't experience pain the same as others, which went back into, history. I tell people I broke my wrist.
Brother in New York. No, hey, listen to me. You know what I told somebody? I say, man, that stuff happened with so much regularity. The people just shocked because they've been hoodwinked to believe that this stuff cannot go on in any place that's supposed to be for safety, security, and law enforcement. But let me tell you the deeper part. Not any one of those individuals had the presence of mind to say, hey, y'all, this is criminal. We on camera. We shouldn't be doing this. That clearly indicates that this is a business as usual cultural practice, right? And anybody who got something to say, you off the team. You had a nurse that they implicated, somebody who's responsible for making sure that a person is healthy, that they're not injured, that they can manage pain and get to a state of optimum health, trying to act to cover up what everybody's saying. I'm interested in hearing how they try to explain this away. Well, what y'all didn't see before the scene was dude was tripping and he had an OD.
Yeah.
They got a whole narrative, man.
The lead up. Well, let me tell you about medical. I think I've told you before. Flavor Flav. He had that part in that song. He said, "Get up and get down. 911 is a joke in your town." And I used to say that in prison all the time. I used to also say Michael Jackson had it right. All I got to say is that they don't really care about us.
They
That's
don't.
how it is in there. And I asked the nurse. I said, "What about the Hippocratic oath? Why aren't you helping us?" She said,
Do she
"That's
even
only
know
for
what
doctors."
that is? Do they even
She
know
said
what that
that's
is?
only for doctors. Like, I don't have that.
Yeah.
I don't have that. No,
Yeah,
no, no. I
they
can
have it
do
in
harm.
in the DOC. They got it in language and theory, but not in reality and practice because
Oh,
they ain't.
she
They
said
ain't,
she didn't have it. She had
no, the doctors got it, and the doctors are doing the same thing, man.
oh,
Listen,
same
it's
thing.
a
Anything to
profit.
cut costs.
It's a profit-driven system. How much money can I make?
Mhm. That's right.
It's
On that
exploitation.
note, on
I'm gonna
that
give you
note,
some Motrin for this cancer.
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna give you some ibuprofen for this degenerative brain disease that you have, and
Mhm.
that way I can get the money that would have been normally allotted to treat this thing, which is treatable. I just let it
Uh-huh.
degenerate to the point to where it's not treatable anymore. You died, and I done saved this company this money. Good job.
Yes, but here's the thing too. They don't even tell you that you have that degenerative cancer. They don't tell you that. They string you along with, oh, we can't figure out what it is until you die. And
Yep,
wait, or until you're in stage
yep,
4. And
yep.
there's no way for them to hide knowledge of it anymore.
Yeah.
So
Now
many
all we can
friends
do
have
is help with comfort. That's what they
share with
say. Now all we can do, yeah, that's it. It's crazy,
right.
man. And it's
Wow.
insane to think that you
Yeah.
got the capacity to save a human being's life, but in order to save a couple of $1,000s, you deny them that. Man, that is criminal. I'm out here
Oh,
trying to, as a little boy, because my family's struggling in poverty. I go out to steal so we can get something to eat at 9 or 10 years old, and I'm the villain. You knowingly denying somebody access to medical help that could save their life, knowingly do that. That's not criminal though.
no, no.
Man,
Because
man.
you know what? I really want people to, after the show, kind of look into some of the injustices because there was a string through the South, and this was recently, of inmates who had passed away, sometimes under nefarious circumstances, sometimes old age. And when their families came and picked them up, they didn't have any of their major organs. So here are the things that are happening, the injustices, and just to let's go ahead and make it full circle. It's still happening out here because I didn't get I didn't get the health care, didn't get any type of learning that I did inside, never made any real money in there, came out, and now I'm still limited because the things that I did to excel in there that made, that I was doing on my own that have gotten me these skill sets that you're talking about, you don't want to pay me for them adequately.
No,
So
because
just like
you didn't go through their schools. They don't acknowledge it. It's something you went through on your own. They talk about the value. They talk about the value of lived experience, but they ain't willing to compensate it.
yes, and here's the thing: you're holding us back. And you know what? When you get tired of doing everything for free, and there's the audience that needs to hear what you have to say
You
because
be
you've
like,
been
I'm
so
cool.
burnt out and used up, you might
Yeah,
miss that audience. So
that's right.
I'm just going to make it transcend real quick.
Okay.
Anyone that is just as impacted, check out and see what other people are getting for the same thing you're doing in whatever job that you're in. And make sure you're getting a consummate wage. Because let me tell you this, I will get out there and say, what is your budget for speakers? What are you paying for this? And if you're not going to pay me the same thing as everyone else, then you really need to evaluate who you're trying to help, why you're trying to help them, and why you aren't trying to help me.
And why does your mind make you automatically feel that my value is less than somebody else's because of the
Yes,
different paths that we've taken? It's the
that's right.
mindset. You got to think about the people who think like that, right? That
Yeah,
is ingrained in values, assigning labels and categories and all of this. So even though, Sarita, you look good, you're out here doing a lot of work, you're still a convicted felon, so you can't get your peers.
absolutely.
You got a felony that won't
Yeah,
allow you to become a certified peer specialist, even though you out here being a champion advocate more than anybody that's on the
that's
Department of
right.
Mental Health. More than
That hurt
anybody
me
that's
too.
in the DMH. You in the streets. I don't see none of them in the streets. I see
Yeah.
them in the board meetings. You in the street, and people got the nerve to block and stand in your way of getting credentials that can open up more doors to help you achieve your goals. They ain't doing no work. They
Um,
just sit in rooms rapping.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because, so much has happened that I forgot all about that. Department of Mental Health, and I was talking to the director of mental health, or Burrell Brightly, and he was gonna, kind of shoot me the paperwork. I had probably about 15 letters of support instantly turned down. So therefore, you don't get to learn the things you're already doing and have a certificate for it. Sarita, thank you for pointing that out, Mataka. Just block, 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 block. Why?
And listen to
Either
me.
we serve the time or we didn't.
The same people who are blocking you ain't doing the work you doing.
No,
Man, they sit
they don't have
behind
an
desks
idea.
making decisions based on criteria. Don't know you personally, don't know
No.
your work. They got a blanket criteria, right? And they will use that. They don't know nothing about you and tell you, well, we can't do it. And they ain't doing no work. You out here challenging the
Yes.
stigma of mental health, challenging the
Thank
things
you.
that cause trauma, trying to help while people denying you access to credentials that can open up more doors and not only give you different information, but allow you to make some paper doing it. Man,
Absolutely. Let me tell you this.
how dare them? How dare them?
If I didn't know people that were willing to stand up for me and vouch for me, I wouldn't even have a place to stay right now, me and my mother, because they turned down my retired father, make a retired roofer. My mom retired from Quest Diagnostics, had been there over 30 years, and I had a full-time job and was looking to get a nice place to move my family here and was instantly turned down. And they had no problem telling me over the phone after I had to call them to find out what had happened with the property. When they took it off, they said, we denied you because of your criminal background. Just shut the door on me and my whole family who needed me to be their caretaker.
They took that away from you. Then they said you couldn't get that credit. Man, you got a whole TED talk.
I've done one before. Let's do it again. Yes, but Mataka has one too. 1 second. Shout out to Mataka, Ascari, TEDx, Walnut Street. Shout out to me, Toot Toot, TEDx, Walnut Street.
And so listen,
are you opening doors? Or are you closing them?
They knew that you brought value. And shout out to the sisters, man. Shout out to the sisters who saw value in you and said, man, she needs the platform because she's doing the work. Let's give her the platform, man. Shout out to the sisters, man.
Thank you. And let me tell you this.
It was a
Mataka, you need to try and be on this TEDx. I think I might have said that before they reached out to you. I was telling you need to be on that TEDx and that it was coming. That's a whole conversation between me and Mataka that I try to tell him all the time. Get out here. Let's do it. We can do it. We can do it.
Man,
okay,
I'm gonna tell you what it is, Sarita. I'm gonna be honest with you. Man, I hit the ground running when I came, right? And I poured a lot. I poured a lot into what I tried to do for the community, but I got no pouring back, right? So listen, so me right now though, man, I'm chilling. I used to be amped, couldn't wait to go help, couldn't wait to go do something to help the community. Still love that. It's still in my heart. I struggle when people ask me to do stuff right now because I know it's an opportunity to put this information out there. I struggle when I say no. I be wanting to go back and say, man, but nope, I'm not doing it. And so when people pour out, man, ain't nobody pour it back, bro. Sister, ain't nobody pour it back.
A lesser man, and I don't want to brag on myself, or a lesser woman, they could have been right on the way back to the penitentiary, or never wanted to tell what they could experience or what they had experienced that could help somebody else because he's burnt out now. So I need you to pour into your own cup and self-care, and then we'll get right back at it.
I bet you this, Sarita. I bet you if we put a post on Facebook, you and I and other people who've been doing work, how many people have been directly impacted by what I've done or what I've helped them with in a positive way? Hey, man, listen, you know how much stuff gonna pull up? Ask some of these therapists to do it.
Let's do it.
Ask some of these therapists to put them on their post. How many people have I helped, right, in this particular? And I bet you the numbers don't even compare, man. Man,
let's do it.
Yeah, man. How many people have have benefited from some of the things that I've shared. Yeah, and watch how many people jump on there and congratulate you and shout you out. Have them therapists do it. Do you know why they ain't gonna do it? And you know why your number's gonna be more than theirs? Because you're doing the day-to-day hands-on work with the people. You ain't sitting in no desk talking about Sigmund Freud or Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of physiological. Man, don't nobody, man, listen, miss me with that.
I talk about
You doing that.
Maslow's. Okay,
Yeah, I
so
know.
I'll just tell you.
I like
That's
Maslow.
because
Cool. Yeah,
that's wait. That's because we
how
bring
you know
different
about
perspectives.
Maslow? You a convicted felon. How you know about Abraham Maslow and Carl Jung, B.F. Skinner, Ivan Pavlov? How you
Because you
know
have to
about that?
study psychology to know what you're dealing with. You're in a war zone. You have to know about you know what I said all the time. I could have had diagnoses that I could add to the DSM just based on behavior. Like I swear there was just certain behaviors that people embodied that were just different kinds of psychosis. And because I had studied psychology, you know, had a life before prison, I swear she's got probably some type of frontal lobe damage. She's got either a massive head injury or she's got fetal alcohol syndrome. You know, and these are just existing diagnoses or diagnoses, and then put them together. And yeah, and you know, I don't feel like you were dogging on Maslow's hierarchy because there is so much truth to that. Because you would have never made it to self-actualization if you
That's the
didn't have
cop, by the way.
exactly. And let me tell you this, I wouldn't have either because they tried to cut off they did cut off my school and try to deny me a place to stay, which is one of the foundational
That
blocks.
is food, clothing, and shit. But let me tell you this though. This is a thing that often perplexes me. Man, you think
Mm-hmm.
Abraham Maslow came up with that? You think he just, man, come on now. You know somebody else done got that work in somewhere and he done took credit for it. He cannot be the first individual in human history to realize these stages, man, on this pyramid. It's impossible. It's
It's another
impossible.
Thomas
Like
Edison.
yeah, man. Somebody listen.
Another
There's
Thomas
so many
Edison.
unsung heroes and so many people whose names we don't know, who people have exploited and built their fortunes on the back of their work, intellectual, physical, or otherwise.
That's right. There we go. That's a good way to end it.
Yes, ma'am.
Building on the backs of other people. And let's just one more time, I'm gonna bring it on back to this. This man said, get out and ask how many people's lives you've affected, how many people that you have touched. And if you're the decision maker on who gets paid what for what they're doing, why don't you put that out there too, to your
I want
employees,
to
to your
say this last
coworkers,
thing.
to the
They got that
consummate
office.
professionals.
They got that office of violence prevent. They got that office of violence prevention thing coming, right? So I was thinking about that. I don't know if they hired somebody or not, but how could you be in the office of violence prevention and you can't slide in the hood with a couple people beefing and do some de-escalation tactics, some crisis intervention? How are you going to be part of the office of violence prevention and you can't slide in the hood and prevent no violence?
Or you've never been a victim of violence. Or you've never been a perpetrator of violence.
But you got a degree where you done studied somebody who put forth a phenomenal thesis and you got an A on it or you on violence. But you have never experienced that. You've never really witnessed it, and you've not had the experience to be able to navigate an environment like that. And in the midst of that, bring resolve. How can you prevent violence when you ain't never prevented violence?
Let me tell you. So the name of this show is Justice Impacted and Economically Denied. Thank you, Mataka. End us out on wait. Call to action. Okay. What's the call to action, Mataka?
One of the things that I would like people to do is start valuing the people who are in your community, right? And start investing in them. All of these organizations, I know DEI, they sweating right now.